Hello and welcome to another edition of Focus, a program produced by the Department of Disaster Management, DDM. I'm your host, Fiona Alexander Smith, Information and Education Manager at the DDM. This edition will focus on the ongoing efforts to ensure that the territory's educational institutions are safe. The DDM's drive to instill safety as part of the standard functions and operations of schools is being implemented under the Virgin Islands Smart School program, which involves encouraging schools to become safe and smart. The Virgin Islands Smart School program was adapted from the Pan American Health Organization PAHO Smart Healthcare Facilities in the Caribbean initiative. This desire to have safe educational institutions in the territory began as early as 2000, when the DDM began to look at ways to ensure that schools are prepared to deal with hazard impacts. Funding from the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, CDEMA Coordinating Unit in 2011 under the CARICOM Brazil FAO Living School project allowed for the development of a set of tools to assess the safety of the territory's educational facilities. These included a health and safety policy, assessment tool, monitoring database, and a certification process. The Safe Schools project was rolled out in 2012 with the assessment of all educational facilities, pre-primary to tertiary level, but only 10 schools were able to achieve the full Safe School certification at that time. Flash forward to 2016, and the territory now has 20 safe schools. But why is it so important for schools to be safe? The following video provides that explanation.
Hazards can occur at any time, and their impact can have disastrous consequences for communities such as the British Virgin Islands. Disasters in turn create significant humanitarian and development challenges. The frequency and the severity of disasters continue to increase, partially as a result of climate change. While the global figure for damage caused by hazards would be mind-boggling, in the BVI alone, between 1989 and 2010, the territory experienced damage totaling more than $144 million from several cyclonic events and floods. There is no way to eliminate all potential hazards, but our actions today can determine the extent of their impact and the ability to recover in the shortest possible time. The education sector is uniquely poised to be part of the solution by helping to create a more enlightened and resilient community. It is important that this sector continue to work collaboratively with the Department of Disaster Management to build on past successes and broaden the scope of our reach going forward.
The Safe Schools certification criteria were developed to ensure schools meet the minimum requirements established in the School Health and Safety Policy. Schools wishing to be safe must be assessed based on a checklist which evaluates the school's location, design, retrofitting, evacuation, and disaster planning procedures. Schools are required to score a minimum of 80% on the assessment checklist to be awarded the Safe School certification, which is valid for 3 years. With that background on the Safe Schools, we'll now take a break for some messages, and when we return, more information will be provided on the impact and benefit of the program to the education sector.
Do you go swimming? How about fishing? Do you catch the ferry? But do you really know what to do to be safe at the sea? Here's a few tips. Life jackets. Take them, wear them. Small boats, especially ones under 6 meters in length, can and may sink very quickly. Wearing a life jacket increases your survival time in the water. Check the local weather marine forecast before you go and expect both weather and sea state changes. Never go out to fish or dive without double checking. Always bring a waterproof communication device, including a waterproof mobile phone or a waterproof case for your phone. Avoid alcohol. Safe boating and alcohol do not mix. Remember, someone needs to stay alert and aware. Similar to cars, you need a designated driver on the boat at all times.
Brought to you by the Public Information and Education Subcommittee at the National Disaster Management Council and this station. Welcome back to the program. We're focusing on the safe and smart schools. For those schools that have been designated as safe, at the 3-year mark, they will have to be reassessed and again score 80% to maintain their certification. Of the 20 safe schools, 14 are due for recertification by November 30th this year. The 14 schools are Alexandrina Maduro Primary, Althea Scatliff Primary, Isabella Morris Primary, Joyce Samuel Primary, Leonora Delville Primary, the H. Laverty Stout Community College, New Life Daycare and Learning Center, New Testament Church of God Daycare, Visions Child Development Center, Willows Daycare, Century House Montessori, Cedar International Primary and Secondary School, First Impressions, and Agape Total Life Academy. The re-inspection process for these schools has already started, and we hope that they will all meet the minimum requirements to maintain certification. Stay tuned to Focus, because after this break, we'll have more information about the next phase of the project, Smart School Certification.
I heard about storm surge on TV, but didn't really know what it was.
I even wiped us out. The sea swept away everything. All gone.
The waves were higher than the house.
The devastating force of a storm surge is awesome. Wave after wave. Tons and tons of water lashing and smashing down all before it. Storm surge. It's a hazard. Hazards. Take control. Reduce your loss. If you live alongside the seaside, sooner or later, storm surge, the big waves and high seas caused by a storm, will threaten your property. Plan for it. Build for it. Maybe don't build there at all. Find out more about storm surge and other hazards at your local disaster office.
Welcome back to Focus. Before the break, I presented information on the safe aspect of the Virgin Islands Smart School program. Now, after attaining SAFE certification, the next step is for schools to be certified as SMART. Smart schools build upon safe schools by adding climate change adaptation practices or green practices, such as recycling, energy and water conservation, among others. In other words, safe plus healthy plus green equals SMART. Schools attempting SMART certification must also score a minimum of 80% under the SMART checklist. The Smart Schools project was piloted in Seacows Bay. The following video, produced during the pilot project, provides greater details about the Smart Schools.
Children all over the world spend a significant amount of time on school compounds. It is therefore essential that schools provide a safe, green, and healthy learning environment. We believe that schools in the BVI, from primary to tertiary level, must be operating in structurally safe buildings, actively participating in school preparedness, including testing of emergency plans, promoting and practicing conservation measures, all to ensure that children are healthy and happy. The Smart School pilot was initiated in schools located in the Seacows Bay area at Ebenezer Thomas Primary School, Little Lighthouse Child Development Center, and the Seventh-day Adventist Primary and Secondary Schools. The overall goal of this project was to develop a model for climate-smart, disaster-resilient, and healthier schools. This was achieved through interventions targeted at reducing the school's vulnerability to potential climate change effects reducing the size of their carbon footprint and developing a healthier student population. Seacowls Bay is a community of just over 2,000 people on the southern coast of Tortola. The community got its name from the West Indian manatee, or sea cow, that once thrived in the waters of the BVI and fed on the sea grass beds. Seacowls Bay is particularly vulnerable to landslides, flooding, and its vulnerability is compounded by the significant accumulation of siltation in the harbor, which serves as the only marine emergency shelter for large commercial vessels during tropical storms and hurricanes. Several guts run through Seacowls Bay, but there are two in particular which tend to routinely impact the community. Excess sedimentation has resulted in degradation of aquatic habitats, lowered water quality, as well as restricted access to the harbor. There is a definite awareness among residents of the hazards that can potentially impact the community. This level of awareness was also evident among the student population at the primary and secondary schools. At the core of this project was a desire to build resilience among schools in BVI by taking proactive measures to mitigate the potential effects of hazard impacts, non-communicable diseases, and climate change. The project was able to demonstrate how school populations can adapt to climate change by instituting measures that create a greener environment in which children learn and play. Recycling facilities were improved by providing receptacles, which allows for separation of trash and reusable materials. Students' awareness on the need to recycle was also done through demonstration and visual aids. In addition, children were educated about energy efficiency through demonstration activities which involved the installation of energy-efficient bulbs. The project also helped to improve indoor environmental quality and chemical management by providing each school with biodegradable and environmentally friendly cleaning supplies that do not release harmful agents and leave residue. The schools are now safer through the provision of disaster risk reduction education and the establishment of procedures for the proper storage, handling, and the use of chemicals used in cleaning and laboratory activities. Students have also been trained to use proper hand washing techniques. All three schools now have comprehensive disaster management contingency plans that have been tested and approved by the Department of Disaster Management. Each school has been outfitted with appropriate fire extinguishers, fire blankets, smoke detector devices, and evacuation schematics have been posted throughout the schools to guide safe evacuation. School-based gardens have been established and healthy eating lunch programs designed to guide parents and teachers in preparing more healthy, nutritious meals, even with small budgets. The Smart School Initiative was geared towards the education sector but involved partnerships with many government and private sector agencies as well as community members. There is now a greater level of awareness of the importance of the need to have a safe, green, and healthy learning environment, not only within the Seacowls Bay community, but territory-wide. A model has been established and successfully implemented, which can be replicated in other schools and communities throughout the BVI.
In 2016, 2 schools were certified as SMART. They are the BVI Seventh-day Adventist School and Little Lighthouse Child Development Center. Coming up after this commercial break is an interview with the principal of one of the SMART schools. Stay tuned.
Do you go swimming? How about fishing? Do you catch the ferry? But do you really know what to do to be safe at the sea? Here's a few tips. Life jackets, Take them, wear them. Small boats, especially ones under 6 meters in length, can and may sink very quickly. Wearing a life jacket increases your survival time in the water. Check the local weather marine forecast before you go and expect both weather and sea state changes. Never go out to fish or dive without double checking. Always bring a waterproof communication device, including a waterproof mobile phone or a waterproof case for your phone. Avoid alcohol. Safe boating and alcohol do not mix. Remember, someone needs to stay alert and aware. Similar to cars, you need a designated driver on the boat at all times.
Brought to you by the Public Information and Education Subcommittee at the National Disaster Management Council and this station. I'm here at the Little Lighthouse Child Development Center, one of the territory's smart schools. The school was certified as SMART in March 2016 as part of the DDM's Virgin Islands Smart Schools program, which has been endorsed by the Ministry of Education. So I'm here with the principal, Mrs. Deirdre Nibbs, and we're just going to speak for a little bit about the process and how it has impacted the school. Mrs. Nibbs, first of all, congratulations on being one of the territory's first SMART school. Yourself and the BVI SDA school were the first two. First, tell me about the certification process for both SAFE and SMART.
Yes, well, the certification process was very enlightening, educational, and fun. We enjoyed every moment of it. We had the training, which took about six days, and we learned a lot of things that, help us to make our schools safer, and smart.
What training exactly?
Well, we had first aid, which was one of the training, fire suppression, and then there was the emergency response that we needed to do in the event there was an accident or, a disaster. So we learned how to respond to lots of situations, that we would encounter from day to day.
How significant has this been for the school in terms of the importance of being safe and smart?
Very significant. For safety, as a matter of fact, we had to implement a means by which we could get the kids out of the building in the event of a disaster. And so we had what we call a slide. We put to the back of the building, and some of them can slide down while others exit at the front of the building. One of the things that helped us. And we have the smart radio, would alert us in the event we are going to be impacted by a hazard. And we are able to, we are alerted whenever there is, is going to be a disaster. But the good thing about that is that it is implemented occasionally when they have the practice, so that we can get involved in whatever they're doing, to help us to be ready for tsunami or anything else that would affect us.
Okay, great. In terms of the changes that were made to the school, what, in your opinion, are the most significant changes that you have observed prior to and after certification?
The changes, we obtained some funds because it's usually very warm, and so we received some funds from the department. We also received safety gates, which we think is very good because they keep the children safe while when the teachers can move around and do whatever so they have to do. So we have that safety blanket that we're very proud of, because it is so important because you're dealing with a number of kids, and in the event of a fire you have to get them out. We have had the fire department come in and do training for us. And some of those are the changes that we have had.
Right, so the safety blanket is the fire blanket you're speaking of. Okay. Some persons, or some schools rather, might see the certification process as a daunting task. What advice can you share with them, or some best practices?
It may seem to be a daunting task because it calls for sacrifice. When we did it, we worked, and then after work we had to go spend hours in the classroom doing practical, and listening to lectures and so on and so forth. So yes, it is, but it is worth it. it is worth it. And we really enjoyed it, though, yes, it was challenging, you know. But we learned a lot, both practical and theoretical.
Any tips you would share?
Well, I would advise people, if they haven't started thinking about safety and being smart, to start doing so. Because we're living in a time now when, you know, disasters, things are happening every minute. And we never know. We are vulnerable. And we never know when it's going to be our turn, so it's good for us to be prepared.
Has the Safe and Smart certification impact enrollment? If so, how?
It has impacted our enrollment. We have had quite a number of children join the school afterwards, and that's about it.
All right, Mrs. Nibs, thank you so much, and we wish your school all the best as you continue to make safety a priority here at the Little Lighthouse Child Development Center. Our intention is to have all schools achieve Safe and Smart certification, but we need support from all sectors of the community. And I hope this program has prompted individuals and businesses capable of providing financial and other support to schools to make an input to this worthwhile cause, as we ensure our children are in safe environments where they can truly learn and excel. I am Fiona Alexander Smith, Information at the Department of Disaster Management. Join me next time for another edition of Focus on CBN Television and on 90.9 FM.